Of Getting Back to Work, sponsored by our friends at Openpath. And wow, like we are already into 14 weeks
14.
Since PW started. 14, that's crazy. That is nuts. That's awesome. So, but anyways, I'm Manny, Marketing and Content Manager at Group 337, and I'm here with my co-host, the fierce and talented Bert Hart.
Thank you.
That Bert, everyone. We have really great articles for you all this week, so I think, we'll just go ahead and kick things off here, right?
Yes,
Now that we've got our audio in sorts here. So first up, we have an article from Yahoo Finance, and the headline for this one is "Companies to Shrink Offices as Remote Work Becomes the New Normal." This is by Ian King and was originally posted on Bloomberg. It's a bit on the short side, but because of that, it definitely gets to the point, as right off the bat it states that a recent survey done by Cisco Systems, the largest maker of enterprise networking equipment, found that 53% of larger organizations plan to reduce the size of their office space, and more than 3/4 will increase work flexibility. In order to get these numbers, Cisco surveyed close to 2,000 executives, knowledge workers, and others who are responsible for employee environments in this post-COVID era. And the findings suggest many of this year's radical changes to work life will remain long after the pandemic subsides. And then the numbers, they also perfectly reflect the sentiment of most of the survey takers, since almost all stated that they were uncomfortable with the idea of returning to the office, of course, as they fear contracting the coronavirus. Which also leads to the next finding from the poll that shows that working from home is definitely becoming the new normal.
Yep.
With more than 90% of respondents saying they won't return to the office full-time. 12% plan to work from home all the time. 24% will work remotely more than 15 days of each month. And 22% will work remote 8 to 15 days every month.
Wow. 8 to 15 days.
There's a bit of a change there. The article then wraps up by saying that for employees who do return to the office, Cisco's WebEx is actually adding environmental sensors that plug into its current video conferencing gear, so it can help companies identify overused or underutilized spaces while complying with, room capacity limits and checking to see if employees are actually wearing face masks when they're around one another. So for those of you who are returning to the office soon, this could be a good helpful tool to mention to your security managers. So,
Oh,
that was
awesome.
mine, Bart.
Man, hold up, one quick point. 8 to 15 days? Wow, that is huge. It kind of reminded me of that kid in school who was not present for 8 and 15 days. I'm just like, well, how is he learning?
Possibly learning. No, that was.
How is he possibly learning if you're not at school? Just joking.
6 or what was it? 6 to 8 months now. Like 6 to 8 months ago, that would have been like workplace heresy.
Yeah.
What?
I know. So, somebody's going to be in a group talking about you like, that person hasn't been here. Oh, they can't be doing work.
It's not.
Oh, COVID-19. Wow.
There's anything. If there's any consistent theme that we have here, things are changing and they're changing fast. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay, all right. Article numero dos. I'm terrible with Spanish. I'm sorry. I'm learning. So the second article is coming from World Economic Forum, and it is titled "Will Skills, Not Degrees, Will Shape the Future of Work." It's kind of becoming more than commonplace nowadays to shift jobs and careers. Many times, I know my mom and my dad and a lot of old school folks that I know, they probably got one job and they stay with that job for the rest of their lives. But it's 2020. We changing careers all the time.
Yeah.
Anyways, I thought that was quite crazy. It starts off talking about, how people shift careers and stuff like that. And then it begins to talk about how technology is changing jobs and how they are done. According to the World Economic Forum, a third of all jobs will be changed by technology in the next decade. Interesting. The shift will require constant learning and will make the future of work more about skills than college degrees. You don't do your degree and then, you just finish learning everything from your job. You learn as you go.
Right.
The author argues that the rise in digital jobs create the opportunity for companies to find employees with the right skills that don't need to be acquired through college degrees. Fascinating. The economic impact of COVID shows why this is important. Individuals with a college degree have been disproportionately impacted with jobless rates at 21% for individuals without a high school diploma and 6% for individuals without a bachelor degree and above. The article then, goes into talking about how a lot of companies are looking into, getting more skilled workers. Like Google, and a few other people. The article then talks about how they're just not looking for people with skills, but looking for people who can be great workers, attention to detail, and can kind of handle the everyday outs and ins, the ambiguities of just the common workplace. I thought it was what's that?
Soft skills, right?
Yeah, soft skills, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was a good. I mean, those are just a few of the points. It was a really good article, and I encourage anyone to go down here at the bottom of the screen and click that link to check out the rest. I don't want to give you all the juice. Oh no, I don't want to give you all the tea. But I just thought it was pretty fascinating because thinking about how people who have skills and not college degrees are going out and working, and the people who have degrees are more likely to be working from home. Both of which are awesome. I think it's fascinating. But just thinking about it, wow, you need skill. You need skilled workers. They're important for this economy. It's fascinating, and just reading this article made me think about hey, because of COVID-19, the ideal is we need to put more focus on these skilled workers. So it's not just about going out and getting that degree. Not necessarily saying that hey, you have to have a degree to make a great living or anything like that. I know a lot of people who are doing fantastically well. But interesting.
For sure.
Indeed.
No, it sounds like it's also looking for more just rounded people. Overall, not just I have this degree. Okay, great. Well, what else? All right. So pretty much everyone, not everyone, but a large percentage of our population or of our generation, at least, has a degree now. It's okay, cool. What other tricks you got up your sleeve then? Because we've heard it all at this point. So
I mean, it's definitely a gig economy. That's definitely growing. And a lot of people who are working in a gig economy, don't quote me on this, but doesn't necessarily have degrees who are doing it. That's not a huge part of that workforce. So there's definitely skills and definitely opportunities. So fascinating.
For sure. No, there's people that have just picked up trade and just ran with it. Without further delay here, no, it's good conversation.
Okay.
Just to wrap this all up, We have an article from Economica, which is a pretty good provider of business insights for digital enterprises, in case you're curious. The article is by Julie Jars, and its headline reads, Planning the Return to Work Needs Flexibility, Communication, and Data. The article begins by stating that when it comes to getting back to work, that no one has a playbook on how to respond to this pandemic, let alone a good idea on how and when to reopen businesses amid one. As doing so comes with its own set of issues and complexities. It goes on to say that having workers return to the workplace and keeping them safe requires planning, real-time data, analysis of the data, and the ability to quickly pivot if needed. So in order to aid in all of this, Julie breaks down 4 key things to do in order to craft a decent return to work strategy. And these strategies that she argues that these strategies can actually assist businesses of all sizes, not just big, huge organizations.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the first one is keep a pulse on employee sentiment. It's pivotal that employees have insights around how their employees are feeling and making sure they understand them. Some companies are doing weekly surveys to get a read on how everyone's doing, which can help give companies kind of like that heads up and insights on a more frequent basis. It also enables them to act, faster in case sentiments start to really shift one way or another.
Yes.
The second thing to do is to empower local decision making. So local managers are closer to local conditions, naturally, inside and outside of the office. So with local decision makers, decisions are faster and they're more often the right decisions. Local officials assess workplace readiness, such as whether they have enough PPE and sanitizing products. They also look at location readiness. And, they also look at, general employee sentiment data. With all of, this data that local officials receive, they are better able to make, these kinds of right decisions on when employees can return to the office. And then the third thing here is to be flexible. I mean, we all know very much about being flexible these past 8 months or so. So the article states that when it comes to safely returning to the workplace, preferences are going to change, and so is the virus. That's why flexibility here is critical. Being able to adapt and change based on all elements that come into play will empower decision makers and ensure employees that those decision makers can pivot when necessary. They then add that, scenario planning, like a certain scenario planning mindset, helps decision makers see how certain changing factors can affect each other, like playing out scenarios. So, if companies have to make some quick and random pivots, they can kind of foresee, what will happen, who will be affected, what will be affected.
Yeah.
And then finally, the last key thing here that companies should try to do when having employees return to the office is embrace communication. It's so important right now. Workers, they need to know what's going on in the company and the steps the company is taking to keep them safe.
Yes.
View open communication as a two-way street too, because while leaders should frequently share information with employees, they should also frequently solicit feedback from employees. It's a two-way street.
No, definitely.
Right. This will, it'll also serve as a reinforcer for employees and show that the employer actually cares about them. And it'll go a long way for most.
Most definitely. Manny, let me say one thing before you get too far away from this point.
Mm-hmm.
I read in a great book somewhere that for a really good relationship, communication is key. Boom.
Boom. What is this, the 5 love languages? Okay,
I know. The 5 love languages of working remote. How to really love your employees. Communication.
But that also goes on to the next thing here too is that they were saying that technology is something, especially in this remote era, Technology is something that can help keep people connected and informed. You can use announcements on Slack and whatnot, or video content. So some offices are putting together like a preview of an updated in-office experience. They're showing checklists, schedules, and other important information to kind of like give employees that peace of mind, and a bit of a heads up on like what they can expect when they get there. And then finally, very important, worker privacy. That is very important here and key. Let employees know how their information, such as daily attestations, are handled and purged. An environment of open communication lets people know that while leaders may still be writing their playbook, they're still putting employees first and thinking about the relationship between the workplace and the workforce. And then finally, the article concludes by stating that while these tips should help the process of bringing employees back, it should also be noted that one size does not necessarily fit all, and that every company, while this is a really great guide, you also have to understand every company is unique, and as such, it requires its own set of guidelines and playbooks here. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So to my viewers out there, if you're working remote or if you're not, like, what are some forms of communications or tools that you use at your office or place of work to communicate? Do you use Slack? Do you use Asana? What do you guys use? Just drop a comment. We can assess this data. If you guys have questions, let us know. Interesting.
No, for sure. Yeah. No, go ahead, please. Give us some comments there, some questions even. But if you don't have any though,
totally understand.
Yeah, no, crazy enough. I believe we have just wrapped up week 14 of GBTW. Thank you to Openpath and those of you who tuned in. We really appreciate you, and we look forward to sharing more on getting back to news with you next week. Hope you all have a great weekend, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter. And thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, Mandy, we shall see them again next week.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye.